Hello, I hope you don't mind me starting like this. I just wanted to say thank you for sitting with me for a moment. I'm Michael, I'm 90 years old, and lately time hasn't felt full the way I thought it would. It's felt hollow, quiet in a way that scares me more than noise ever did. I wake up most mornings before the sun, not because I want to, because my body does it on its own now. The house is still, too still. I sit on the edge of the bed and listen, almost expecting to hear something familiar. A voice, a door, a kettle, but there's nothing waiting for me. Just another day I need to figure out how to spend. At this age, people think you're always thinking about death. The truth is, I think more about time, about how it moved, about how I didn't notice it slipping away until it stopped feeling useful. There's a strange moment that happens when you're old enough. You realize there are no more later versions of yourself coming to fix things. This is it. This is the last draft. I don't tell this story because I want sympathy. I don't need reassurance. I'm telling it because I finally understand something that took me my whole life to see. And by the time I saw it, it was already done. When I was younger, time felt endless, not exciting, just available, like a resource I didn't need to manage yet. I was never reckless with it. I just assumed it would always be there when I got around to what mattered. In my 20s and 30s, my days were packed. Work, mostly. Not glamorous work, just steady, reliable. I was good at showing up, good at being counted on. People trusted me. That felt important back then. I used to tell myself that being responsible was the same as being present. I really believed that. I'd come home tired. Sit down. Say I'd listen in a minute. Say I'd get to it after this week, after this project, after things calm down. They always seemed like reasonable delays, harmless even. Nothing I did felt like a mistake at the time. That's the part that's hardest to explain. I wasn't careless. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't chasing some wild dream and leaving people behind. I was doing what seemed right, what everyone around me was doing. Days turned into routines. Routines turned into years. Conversations became shorter. Silences longer. And I didn't notice the shift because it didn't happen all at once. There was no single argument, no dramatic goodbye. Just a slow thinning of things. You don't feel loss when it's happening that way. You feel busy. You feel useful. You feel tired. It's only later, much later, when the days open up again and there's nothing filling them, that you realize how much you let pass without touching it. Now, at 90, time doesn't rush anymore. It stretches, long hours, with nowhere to go. And that's when the emptiness shows itself. Not as sadness exactly, more like the absence of weight. Like a room that's been cleared out and echoes when you speak. I used to think the end of life would feel heavy with memories. Some days it does, but most days it feels light in the wrong way. Like too much was never put down in the first place. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Not regret in the dramatic sense, something quieter. The kind that only shows up when everything slows down enough for you to hear it. And once you hear it, you can't make it stop. I've been trying to trace it back. This feeling, this sense that time emptied itself without me noticing. And when I look honestly, it didn't start at the end. It started much earlier when life was loud enough to drown it out. In my 40s, my days were measured in obligations, meetings, deadlines, bills. People needed things from me, and I took pride in being the one who could handle it. I told myself that this was what a good life looked like: stability, reliability, keeping things running. I remember thinking, once this phase is over, I'll slow down. I said that more times than I can count. I don't remember who I said it to, maybe myself. At home, conversations became more functional. Did you eat? Did you pay that? What time are you leaving tomorrow? There was nothing wrong with those questions. They just replaced the others, the deeper ones. The ones that don't solve anything but somehow make you feel less alone. I didn't avoid those moments on purpose. I just postponed them. I thought I was being practical. There were evenings when the television was on, but nobody was really watching it. I can still see the glow of it on the walls. I can hear the sound without remembering what was said. That should have told me something, but back then I thought that was normal. I thought that was adulthood. Time passes differently when you're busy. It doesn't announce itself. It just gets consumed. And because something is always filling it, you don't notice what isn't. There were invitations I turned down because I was tired. Phone calls I meant to return. Birthdays where I sent a card instead of showing up. None of it felt like abandonment. It felt like logistics. That's how loss hides in reasonable explanations. I don't remember the last time I asked someone how they were doing and stayed quiet long enough to hear the full answer. I didn't stop caring. I just didn't pause. And pausing is where life actually happens. I didn't know that then. Years later, when things began to loosen, when work stopped calling my name so loudly, I expected relief. I thought I'd finally have time to enjoy what I'd built, but what I found was space. Too much of it, and not much to put inside. That was the first time I felt it. That hollow stretch. The sense that time, instead of being full of meaning, was just something to get through. I told myself it was an adjustment, that everyone feels this way when they slow down. I didn't want to look deeper. Looking deeper meant admitting that I hadn't just lost time. I'd lost presence. The hardest part is knowing that the people I miss weren't taken suddenly. They drifted, and I let them. Not because I didn't love them, but because I thought love could wait. It can't. That's not something you understand when the days are crowded. You understand it when the days stop asking anything from you. When you're left alone with all the minutes you thought you'd use later. Time didn't betray me. I handed it away piece by piece without noticing the cost. And now, in the quiet, every piece feels heavier than it ever did when I still had it. There was a moment. There's always a moment, I suppose, even if you don't recognize it as one at the time. For me, it came wrapped in something ordinary. A phone call on a Tuesday. A voice trying to sound calm while saying words that didn't belong together. Hospital, tests, serious. I remember standing in the kitchen, holding the phone, staring at a small crack in the wall I'd never noticed before. That detail has stayed with me longer than the words I was hearing. It's strange what the mind holds on to when something begins to break. I told myself there would be time to talk properly later. After the appointments, after things were clearer. I believed that because I had always believed that. There wasn't as much later as I thought. Loss doesn't always arrive like a storm. Sometimes it comes like fog. Quiet, gradual. By the time you realize how much you can't see, you're already standing in the middle of it. After that, the days changed shape. I started noticing time instead of moving through it. Minutes felt longer, evenings heavier. I'd sit in the same chair and think about all the conversations that had almost happened. I replayed small moments, things that seemed insignificant when they occurred, a half-listened sentence, a sigh I didn't ask about, a look that lingered for just a second too long before being replaced by routine. Those moments don't shout. They wait. I used to believe regret would feel sharp, like a sudden pain. Instead, it settled in slowly. A dull awareness that didn't leave. It showed up in quiet spaces, in the pauses between thoughts. In the early hours when sleep wouldn't come, I realized then that what I'd lost wasn't just people, it was depth. I had lived on the surface of my own life for too long, mistaking motion for meaning. The days that followed weren't dramatic. There were no grand realizations, no speeches to myself in the mirror, just a steady understanding that some doors don't reopen no matter how much time you suddenly have. I wanted to reach back, to speak with the clarity I had now, to say things without distraction. But clarity doesn't travel backward. It only shows up when it's no longer useful. That's the cruel balance of it. As the years went on, more names fell into the past, some through death, some through distance. Each time the circle grew smaller, not violently, just naturally, like erosion. And I kept thinking, if I had known. But knowing earlier wouldn't have mattered. I was too busy being necessary. Now, when I look at the end of things, I see that time felt empty. Not because there was nothing in it, but because I kept saving myself for a future that never arrived. I thought fulfillment was something that waited for you once the hard part was over. I didn't understand that the hard part was the part that needed you awake. Sitting here now, I don't feel anger toward my younger self, just a quiet sadness. He did what he knew. He just didn't know what he was giving up, and that knowledge, once it arrives, stays with you, even when there's nothing left to do with it. Now, I speak to you more directly. If you're listening to this, I don't know your age, I don't know your life. I only know this feeling and how quietly it arrives. I wish I had known that time doesn't feel empty at the end, because it runs out. It feels empty because you stop pouring yourself into it. Presence is what gives it weight, not achievement, not being needed, just showing up when it would be easier not to. I used to think there would be a moment when I'd finally feel complete. There wasn't. There were only moments I was either there for or not. What I miss most isn't youth. It's attention, the kind you give without multitasking, without planning the next thing. Now, my days are simple. I make my coffee. I sit by the window. I watch light move across the floor. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it hurts. I don't have many years left. I know that. I'm not afraid of it. I'm more aware of it than I ever was before. That awareness is calm. It's honest. If there's anything I wish I could hand you, it isn't advice. It's a truth I learned too late. Time doesn't ask for grand gestures. It asks for presence while it's happening. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening to an old man who finally understands why the end felt so empty. It wasn't because life failed me. It was because I kept waiting to fully live it. And now I sit with what's left, quietly accepting it as it is. There is no lesson hidden here, only a lived truth spoken softly in case it reaches someone before their own quiet arrives and stays long enough to matter, even briefly, even imperfectly, today.